It's hot here.
All right, we are live. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to be looking at Islamic Dawah techniques, Islamic argument techniques. We're going to investigate whether they're based on the pursuit of truth or whether they're based on winning. And spoiler alert, they are not based on the pursuit of truth. Before we get started, we have comments here from a Muslim, Mr. Rambo 7, which we'll keep in mind as we're going through the presentation. Not so much the content of the comments, but the tactics he's employing here. The first comment: the resurrection was based on strong delusion. Christianity has blood on its hands. Islam uplifts Yeshua. And we have this one. To the Christian, might Islam have it right about the Son of Mary if the Old Testament and the Tanakh and message are different? And this one, Yeshua, Jesus as God is idolatry. Lloyd, what are some of the techniques that Mr. Rambo is employing here?
Yeah, interesting. I actually just want to jump. He says here, Phil Haraya, in the sense that it is a part of Islam. However, Christianity has relic that can forgive. Right? I just want to mention that this is interesting. He says, so put it this way: Christianity is wrong, evil, misguided, false, because it has a relic that can forgive. Now, notice the black stone in the corner of the Kaaba, or shall I say that the trinity of three little black stones that were broken and glued together with tar, that trinity of three little tiny stones called Allah, that loves to be kissed, loves a kiss and a cuddle, that black stone can forgive your sins. Right? That is very clear from within the Islamic sources that kissing that black stone, touching that black stone, removes sin. So if having a relic that can forgive sin is evil, wrong, false in Christianity, how is it not false in Islam? How does that not disqualify Islam as a false religion too? Then, I'd love Mr. Rambo 7 to explain that particular little statement that he's made there. If it's bad in Christianity, how is it good in Islam? Because then it's equally bad in Islam. That makes Islam equally false. Please explain. So yeah, so hi everyone. Thanks, Thaddeus, for having me back on. And yeah, so I just wanted to to introduce this topic because it's one that we've never formally studied and it needs to be approached. This is like just an introduction to talking about the subject of Islamic Dawah tactics, their form of attempting to always derail, take the interest, the focus, the topic of discussion, the subject off of Islam and always attacking Christianity. They cannot defend the indefensible, they cannot defend Islam, so therefore they will attack Christianity, and you'll start defending the Bible, start defending Jesus, rather than actually focusing on your point, which is to deconstruct the Islamic argument, to deconstruct the Islamic sources or the very poor logic or the non-existent logic they have. And this tactic arose in the 12th century, the early 12th century, under an Islamic scholar called Ibn al-Jabbar. He set the precedent of attacking Christianity rather than attempting to defend Islam. So this has become the norm for the last 900 years. And this is what we need to do, is to press them, not to defend your position, because then you're on the back foot and they are running the show, but we need to press them. And we want to talk about some of the tactics and ideas they have in place. So yeah, any update from you? Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, well, I was going to bring that comment from Mr. Rambo up
Oh, he has to
as a
go.
separate one.
He has to go. Isn't that
Oh, shocking.
coincidental?
Yeah.
I, I have to go.
Just shocking here that as soon as he's asked to defend his views live, he has to leave. Such a shame.
Exactly. I understand. But this proves my point that I just made. They don't defend Islam. They attack Christianity. And you mentioned one point. Sorry to interrupt again, but you mentioned, if I can I share my screen?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to jump into the presentation yet. We're still
Yeah,
on
no, but there was something
introductory
he said that I
comments,
just
but
want to show
okay,
people
sure, sure,
again.
sure.
Then I'll. He mentioned that what did you show? You said that they respect Yeshua, that they really give Where was that comment you made, please?
Yeah,
What was
I
it
can bring
reading?
that back up. Islam uplifts
Not this one.
Yeshua.
Yeah, uplifts Yeshua. So this is from the 14th century, if I recall, the 13th or 14th century. This is from the first or the second most popular Islamic polemic book. It became basically a bestseller of its day in the 12th or 13th or 14th century when it was written. These arguments are still in use today. When you read Facebook, YouTube comments, you will see the same arguments. Now, let me read. This is about Jesus. So, Jesus entered the vagina of a woman who eats, drinks, urinates, evacuates her bowels, and menstruates. Then he got attached to the inside of her abdomen, her uterus, and he dwelled there for 9 months, wobbling between excrement, urine, and menstrual blood. Then he was swaddled, put in the cradle, and each time he cried, his mother breastfed him. Then he went to the maktab along with other boys. Then he ended up being slapped on the cheeks by the Jews. So this is how they uplift Jesus in Islam, in Islamic polemics. This is how they defend Jesus by claiming that Jesus and yeah. Anyway, so I'll stop sharing there. Your thoughts, Thaddeus, before we.
Yeah, well, we're jumping a bit ahead of ourselves, but that's quite all right. We're just a little excited to get into the presentation here. I did want to highlight this comment as well before I lead us in the opening prayer, however. The contrast to a Mr. Rambo. We had someone named Ridvan. I really want to thank you, David Wood, and the apostate prophet for getting me out of Islam. Leaving this cult was the best thing that happened to me, and I feel human again. And praise the Lord for that. This is ultimately why we're here. We're here to help those who are ready to think about their religion. We're here to help those who are ready to see Islam for what it actually is. With that in mind, let me open us with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time together. We ask that you be with us today, that you guide our discussion, and that the material be used for the benefit of seeking Muslims. We give praise for those who are leaving Islam, such as our friend here. We know that Islam is not just false, but is downright evil. We, however, also know that it has a strong grip on the hearts and minds of those involved. We know that it is very difficult to leave Islam. We know that it requires supernatural intervention for anyone to accept you, to put their own desires aside and accept the true God that you are. As such, we pray that work in the hearts and lives of Muslims who watch this stream, whether now live or later on a replay. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. And one other housekeeping thing before we get to the actual presentation. Some of you have probably already seen that I launched a new channel yesterday that seeking to archive David Wood's content, preserve it after he deletes his channel next month. It's called the David Wood Archives. I have pinned a link to that, so check that out after this stream. Lloyd, if you want to talk for a couple minutes, I'm going to jump out of the stream and come right back because the browser is having some issues where it is freezing on my end. So
Okay.
I'm going to restart the...
Okay, you best do that. Okay. Right, everyone, welcome. So maybe, can I share my screen in the meantime? Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen and I will put that up and then I'll jump out.
All right. Hi, everyone. So let me introduce the topic. We are well aware that Islamic propagandists, these dawagandists, are the most highly trained scholars to ever live in all of Islam. They outrank the they outrank every single Islamic source that we can mention, right? And they, of course, end up throwing every single one of these sources we provide under the bus. What was interesting this last week was someone said something and made a claim about Muhammad never hitting anyone, which I will show in a bit. I then showed him Sahih Muslim, which proved him wrong, right? He said Muhammad never hit a woman. So I showed Sahih Muslim, which specifically stated Muhammad hit Aisha. And then, of course, he told me that is a weak narration. That is a false narration. Sahih Muslim was a false narration. And then to refute me, he then quoted Sahih Muslim. And this makes no sense. And this is common. You'll notice here, I have this guy who tells us, Lloyd, you don't know how to question. Muhammad did not have a wife named Aisha. Muhammad never married. Yeah, so there you go. This is Muhammad never had a wife named Aisha. Muhammad never married. This kind of thing is common. Muslims will throw their own sources under the bus. They will lie about Islam. They will tell you the scholars are wrong. They will tell you the greatest scholars in Islam are wrong, are false, or wicked. They will tell you that the Islamic sources are all wrong, are misguided, are mistaken, yet Islam is true. Every source, every scholar, every hadith is weak, false, or incorrect. Every scholar is wicked, false, or lying, yet Islam is perfectly true. And you cannot trust the sources. You have to trust this random Islamic commentator. I mean, we all know this is gaslighting. We know this is false. And I just want to talk about this today, show some examples, and just talk about tactics we can use to deal with this and how to understand what it is they're doing and how we can start to think about countering this. Welcome back, Thaddeus.
Good to be back. Hopefully I don't have any more computer issues.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can stop sharing unless. Do you have anything you want to kick off with?
No, however you want to proceed is fine by me. We're going to be looking at some examples of Muslim comments and kind of analyzing them. And again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to help people better argue with Muslims, better talk to Muslims. Because the kind of Muslims that come to the comments, they're very indoctrinated in this stuff. They may or may not actually be reachable. It's hard to say because you'll have someone who seems to be very very devout, very into this, and then they'll disappear, and then a month later you'll hear that they have left Islam. But the average Muslim, while they won't be as indoctrinated, they won't be as familiar with the techniques, they're still going to have absorbed this material. So by understanding where they are coming from, whether they are intentionally going to Christian channels and leaving their propaganda comments, or whether they have just absorbed this material and they're not trying to be involved in Dawah, so Muslims that you would talk to in real life, for example. Either way, understanding how Muslims have been influenced by these systems of deception should help you have better conversations, and that's what we're after here.
Exactly. So yeah, let me jump into some of the examples, things that actually got me to think about this. Look at some of these examples and try to provide. I don't want to dive deep into the Sharia at all, but a brief overview about that to show you that this is derived, it is based on their doctrines, but they tend to repeat the same basic methodologies over and over. And I think we need to develop a counter methodology because they are fairly predictable. And also it's not an accident. This is clearly deliberate, right? It's repetitive. They use the same ideas. And yep, so let me go back here then. I'll just go back to my second screen.
And let me add that back to the stream. There you go.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so lately, okay, so in no particular order. So I started posting this. Now, as you know, I've been doing shows with Jay Smith. I've done 8 episodes now, and I think I've got about 3 or 4 more coming out next week, and I'm recording with him again this week. So, and you may have noticed that Muslims fail to actually deal with the subject. When you read them, literally dozens of pages of Islamic law from the Sharia on amputations, they will suddenly start talking about amputations in the Old Testament, and they'll start talking about amputations in the Bible. Now, of course, when you ask them, please show me the amputations in the New Testament, they will then start talking about the Old Testament from 3,500 years ago. And when you ask them, okay, can you please show me amputations in Western law? Can you please show me which country has amputation as a punishment for crime in Western law? Can you show me when the last amputation took place in Helsinki, Norway, America, England? Can you please specify? Because we know this stuff is happening this week in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and so on and so on and so on. Can you please show us, where this is? They will not answer because they know they have no evidence. They know they're lying. They know that they're simply desperately throwing this out. And yeah, so I've been giving this now. Imam al-Ghazali is regarded in Islam, in Sunni Islam, as the highest qualified scholar to ever live in Islam after Muhammad. Right? He is even more highly regarded than the 4 scholars, the 4 Imams, the Mujtahids Mutlaq, who founded the 4 schools of Sunni fiqh. Right? And he quotes us this hadith. Aisha angrily said to the Messenger of Allah, "It is you who pretend to be a prophet from Allah." So I asked them, was Aisha lying when she said Muhammad only pretended to be a prophet? I've never had a straight answer, not once. Now, this is a Sahih hadith from the greatest scholar in Islam. Now, of course, they will start to tell you that this is not the greatest scholar, right? They will start to say that this narration is weak, it is false, and then they will quote you some other hadith, and and it's like, okay, right? But understand, so now they will contradict themselves constantly. Now, for instance, another question you can ask them: was Allah lying, or was Allah telling the truth and I'm using it here because technically Allah is not male or female, right? So was Allah lying or telling the truth when Allah said he's the greatest of deceivers? So Thaddeus, was Allah lying? Was Allah telling the truth?
I would say this is probably one of those rare instances where Allah was telling the truth.
Yeah, no, but they cannot admit that Allah was telling the truth, and they cannot say that Allah was lying. So they will not answer, and they will make what is typically called non-answer statements. They will deflect, but they'll make non-answer statements. In this case, for instance, on my talk on Islam, where we spoke of hatred, when we spoke of, this is on Jay's channel recently, Islam says, get along with anyone who does not attack you. Right? Moses and Jesus are not prophets. Okay, now those are non sequiturs. They don't follow, but fine. Those are just statements, provocative, and there you go. So I said, please show me in the fiqh where it says that. If you can't, we know you just made it up. I said, now the fiqh says to hate Jews and Christians, and I did a show with Jay, which will air soon. So there's a version of, and I will go into this in a minute, the Nicene Creed. So we all know the Nicene Creed, right? This is the standard beliefs of Christianity. This is an orthodox set of beliefs which is standard to Christians, right? However, most Christians do not know that Islam has a similar set of beliefs called the akida, right? This is their counterpart, right, to the Nicene Creed. And in the akida, it states Muslims are to hate those who are not Muslims. The people of shirk, that's you, they are to hate you, specifically to hate you. This is an Islamic doctrine called al-wala wal-bara. So I've been asking this guy over and over, please show me where it says in your creed and in your Sharia law to love Jews, Christians, and non-Muslims. He will not answer. Not a single Muslim has answered me. Not a single one. Right? I said, where does it say to love Jews and Christians? Right? And he then says, you don't know how to question. Muhammad did not have a wife named Aisha. Muhammad never married. Fails to answer my question, and then lies. He literally just states this boldly and bluntly. This is not a good faith discussion. There is no good faith discussion. We cannot believe that they're having a good faith discussion. We need to accept it for what it is and then start to deal with it tactically, strategically, as the fact that we are dealing with an enemy that is going to lie to us, deceive us. Your thoughts, Thaddeus?
Yeah, this is just insanity here to claim that Muhammad never had a wife named Aisha and act like it's us critics of Islam that are deceiving here. And this is truly astonishing. I mean, this is one of the most basic facts. I imagine kids probably learn this in the equivalent of kindergarten, if not before that. There's no Muslim on the planet who doesn't know that Muhammad had a wife named Aisha. But here this Muslim comes and he tries to act like that you're wrong, you don't know anything, and he doesn't care. He'll just say whatever he wants to say to try to make that true. Lawrence
Exactly.
did ask for the hadith where Aisha says that Muhammad pretended to be a prophet. If you have the link offhand, that's great. If not, we'll put it in the comments later.
Yes. Book on the etiquettes of marriage. Give me
And while
one
you're
moment.
pulling that up,
Got it. I'll drop it in the chat now.
excellent. And Tess said, if there are so many lies in the hadith, etc., why is there no fatwa been issued against these people, scholars, whatever? And that's a good question. Muslims come here and they tell us that all these scholars that we quote are liars, that they don't understand Islam, that we're just going to unreliable sources, etc., etc. I don't know if we've asked this exact question, but to say, where's the fatwa against them? But we've certainly asked, well, which scholars are reliable? Tell us which sources we can trust, and never an answer. Never an answer. They won't be pinned down because it's a game. It's whatever you quote that I don't like, I'm going to pretend is unreliable.
And that's exactly true. Actually, that's a very good question. So we should ask them. So look, obviously, what I'm hoping for is input from the audience as well. We've all dealt with this. We need to have a coherent response. We need to develop a proper response to shut them down real fast and to push the argument back at them, turn things around back at them, make them go on the back foot. For instance, you could ask them, and this I got from Mary. That was a brilliant point when she asked Safraz, so please pronounce takfir on these Muslims. Basically, call them apostates. And so basically, when you call takfir, you what's the word? You excommunicate them from the religion. You distance yourself from them, and you say, so call takfir. If these people are evil, if they are wrong, if they are apostates, if they are liars about Islam, then call takfir. Tell them to do that. Tell them to do that, and they will not. Now, look, you're not going to convince them because these people are committed to their doctrine of commanding the right. Right, which in other words also permits them to lie. And someone mentioned it. Yes, it is legal to lie in Islam. It's not only legal; it is obligatory to lie in Islamic law. Understand that. You will not convince them. They know you're right. They know they cannot prove their case, so they would give you evidence. But we need to show the world. We need to show the people reading those comments. We need to show the other Muslims, right? We need to, because people are starting to see. Hold on, I'm reading this argument, and this Muslim has gone full Amber Heard, and we are remaining logical. We are remaining sensible. Everything makes sense. We are providing evidence. This guy is just jumping around making word salad. I think this is the best we can hope for in this situation. Your thoughts? Oh, and besides, this link is 313 characters. It will not go through. So I am going to have to split it into two, okay? So I'm going to split this link in two, and let's see.
Yep, no problem. And we'll post it in the comment section later as well. A servant girl here had a good comment. The lies
it's not
are
going to work like that. Sorry. Yeah.
The lies are only boomerangs. Lies can't hurt us. The lies are only hurting those who lie. They are in the traps of their own lies. And I think this is a good comment because ultimately these lies do hurt Islam. The ignorance and system of ignorance in which they rely is no longer possible. The Muslim world is still acting like it's the year 1800 and they can just shield their people from ever hearing any truth, and that's no longer the case. And when lies are revealed, some people will see that and they will leave Islam as a result. So that's exactly what we want to do. We want to cause those lies to go back and hurt Islam instead of having their intended effect of deceiving people.
Yeah, I've dropped that in the private chat for you right now. That is, we need to find an old shortener. I can't do it right now, but yeah, that's the link to, and it's from an Islamic organization, so it's from the Ahlul Bayt, the people of the house. So basically, it's from a high-level Islamic organization. Okay, yeah. So let me just go through in no particular order some of these things that people have been throwing at me. Um, yeah. Okay. So the next one. So this guy was asking questions. So this guy, forgiving Rohan, basically has half the intelligence of Jason Bourne, Alonzo Harris, but none of the personality, right? So
And that's saying a lot.
yeah, wow. Yeah. So basically, when I do my presentations, I show all the sources. I make the links to all the sources available. Um, yeah. So on Jay's channel, he's been a little bit technologically challenged, and YouTube has been a little oppositional by completely making garbage of all the links that I've given him. So I've given him some. I've asked him to do certain things which he hasn't always done. So I will try and remind him to provide the links to my sources so that everyone can view them for themselves. But so this guy was saying, I am lying, I am lying, I am lying. And I'm like, no, I am showing the Islamic Sharia text on the screen. I'm showing you the book, showing the cover, I'm showing the author, then I'm showing the page, and I'm reading it off the page. How am I lying? I'm not making it up. I am just literally reading it off the page. So this guy says, forgiving Iran. So the books he found is a liar. Yasser Qadi is a liar. Introduction to Science of the Quran. Yasser Qadi, PhD, is a liar. Now notice they cannot call. It is illegal for a Muslim to call takfir. To excommunicate another Muslim is illegal, no matter what that Muslim does in the Sharia. A Muslim could literally barbecue a baby in the street and eat it. You cannot call takfir on that Muslim. It is not possible. Because no matter what they've done, they are still a Muslim. Why? Because they've said the Shahada, they believe in Allah, they believe in the last day. Right? As long as they've met those criteria, they're a Muslim for life, no matter what they do. And a Muslim has no authority to call takfir on another Muslim. So notice this guy doesn't say, yes, Yasser Qadi, he goes, you need education. How does that answer the question? That evades the question. Thaddeus?
Yeah, exactly. If this guy needs education, then forgiving should be giving that education by telling us which sources we should be going to. But he can't do that because he knows that whatever he points to is going to say the same thing, no doubt.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Very, very much so. So how would we not think, guys? We need to think about this. How do we respond to this? So we need to have a song. We need to all sing off the same song sheet. We need a message that we say. So look, provide the evidence. I've provided written evidence. I want you to provide. If I have used the wrong Islamic legal text, tell me what is the name of the correct legal text and on what page do I find that? Safraz Hussein recently stated that, Lloyd, I've given you an Islamic text. He showed me an 18th century work written by an unknown scholar, which is not in use in the schools. Now, understand there used to be thousands of Sharia law texts, literally thousands. Some of them were very bad translations, some of them were very bad theology, some of them were very bad law. So the schools had to toss out literally thousands, just like they tossed out over 1 million hadiths. They've had to toss out thousands of manuals, and they've focused on only a handful of manuals that they now regard as legitimate as canon, right? So this is why I tend to restrict myself only to these proper Sharia sources. Now he said the rule that you want is in the book, but it's in Arabic, and I don't have the page number it's on, but it's in there. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, trust him. And then the next day he was on Christian Prince and he admitted that he doesn't know Arabic. So how did he know what was in this Arabic book? Of course he didn't. He just picked something at random, pretended that this book's in it somewhere, somehow backed his opinion, what he wanted to say, and that was that. We have a presumed Muslim in the chat here, Lawrence, demonstrating another popular Muslim tactic. He says, why did your God command killing of innocent boys in number 31:17?
Oh, that's Alonzo. That's Alonzo.
And I wouldn't be
Oh,
surprised.
Alonzo.
I thought it was probably that there was a good chance it was Alonzo, but either way, it's illustrating one of our points here. That we're talking about a specific subject. He comes in, misrepresents the Bible, tries to distract, tries to change the subject. This is a favorite tactic. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're talking about apostasy laws, they'll come in and talk about the age of Aisha. You're talking about Aisha, they'll come in and talk about apostate laws. They just want to distract. They just want to get you off subject. They don't even care what you're talking about. They'll just go to anything other than what you're talking about. So they're not trying to get you a specific way. They're just trying to get you off topic. They're trying to distract you. So thank you, Lawrence, for for illustrating our point for us.
Yeah, this is so funny. And yeah, and then, I mean, so look, Lawrence, do you agree? Will you state that your fellow Muslim was lying to us when you said that Muhammad never had a wife named Aisha and Muhammad never married? Was your fellow Muslim lying to us? Or, well, what are the alternatives here? Was he lying?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he could be ignorant, but I don't think it's possible to be a Muslim and emphatically state Muhammad doesn't have a wife named Aisha. I don't see how ignorance could be a possibility. So, do let us know, Lawrence, whether. Oh,
Lawrence,
Lawrence
I'm
is.
not a Muslim.
I'm
See,
not a
what?
Muslim. Okay, thank you, Lawrence. What tactic is he doing now, Lloyd?
So denial. I mean, good grief. Look, why did your God? So, okay, yeah. So
Well,
essentially, that's a,
Lawrence, if you're not a Muslim, why don't you prove it in the chat? Why don't you say that Muhammad was a false prophet, and on the penalty of death, I assert that I do not believe in him. Type those words in the chat for us. Thanks.
yeah. Fantastic. Notice that he's going to be changing that. Yeah. Okay, there's a handful of things I want to go through. So in no particular order, guys, I just want to bring up. So actually, let me go here while I'm here then. Let me go. Okay, we've already covered this here. Um, okay, but what they really think of Jesus, how they really think about Jesus. Just so you know, this book that I've just shown here, the one with the nasty things about urine and so on, is called Guidance to the Uncertain in Reply to the Jews and the Nazarenes. Right, if you go to my channel, and also it's in the description, my archive, just search for the names, search for the word uncertain or something like that in my Google archive, you'll find all my references. Another thing that I want to introduce today so that I can show you this is this book, okay, which Muslims want you to spread this everywhere and share the knowledge. This book is called In Defense of Islam. This is their updated, most, well, I think most popular Dawah Ganda manual to teach people how to do Dawah, how to produce the arguments, where to find the data for the arguments, where to copy paste everything, and how to deal with Christian, polemics and apologetics. All right, we'll be going through that. And I will be talking about something that one of our favorite people, of course, Abrams said. But let's have a talk. Let's have a look at this guy, Asif Makki. Right, they
Real
come to
quickly
distract. Of course they do.
before yeah, Troy said they come to distract, and indeed they do. But since we're talking about their tactics, I thought it would still be helpful to bring up his attempt at distraction.
Yes. So yeah, I
So
want us
you
to
go ahead and
see this
continue. Yep.
identified. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
I said go ahead and continue. So
Yeah. He hasn't denied Muhammad now, has he?
no, he's gone silent.
Yeah. Um, so also, like, I mean, I've been asking Muslims, please show me where in your creed, right? There is the creed, and I will show you guys the creed later. And where in Islamic law does it say to love Jews, Christians, and non-Muslims? Please show me. It should be a really simple answer. Oh, it's here. It says here, Allah says to love Jews, to love Christians, to love non-Muslims. I have not had a single answer. Lawrence, Muhammad is a false prophet, and I assert that on death. You have to dumb to believe Islam. My problem is the same thing. No, he's not answering. Notice that is your thoughts. That is.
I mean, he more or less said that he more or less said what I said, but he added this:
He
you
said he
have to
can't
be
do grammar.
dumb to believe Islam.
No, he didn't say that. He said he can't do grammar.
Well, I can overlook that. Um, I need to look at his channel, see if it was created today.
No, because this is called, okay, look, in law enforcement circles, rather in terms of manipulation of language, this is called, some would call this a give and take. You're giving something, but notice it's corrupted. Okay, it's not a clear statement. It is ambiguous because there's certain grammar that he's missing. But also he's taking away. So he's saying yes, but with the one hand, and he's taking that yes away by saying no on the other hand. He's saying, but this is the same thing you accuse Muslims of a barbaric Sharia law. Isn't that what Moses did? No, it's not. Right? So understand, this is you're trying to say one thing, but you're taking it away on the other side. This is not a clear, unambiguous statement against Islam. This is attacking Christianity or attacking the Bible because it's starting at A, but you're ending in Christianity, you're ending at the Bible. This is a typical tactic, this give and take. Your thoughts on that, Thaddeus?
Well, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I did pull up Lawrence's channel here, and look what we found. Joined June 26, 2022. Yes, I'm sure that someone just randomly joined YouTube today and came to my live stream to defend Islam, but no, they have nothing to do with Muhammad at all. I am astonished, though, that Alonzo here is willing to type the words. Muhammad is a false prophet. This just goes to show you the depth of his deception, that he is willing to deceive to the point that he's willing to deny his beloved prophet.
Well, this is called taqiyya, isn't it? There's a name for that.
Indeed it is.
Right?
Now,
As long as you keep faith in your heart, you can say anything with your mouth.
indeed. Now, traditionally, the view is that you can only do taqiyya when you are being threatened. However, there is a variance of opinion here, and clearly Alonzo feels that he can do it just for the benefit of Islam. That he can
You can do it, but it is legal to do it for the benefit of Islam. It is perfectly legal to do so.
Right, so he's following the less restrictive use of the tactic. And to point out here, taqiyya is actually specifically denying your religious beliefs. So he is doing taqiyya. He's not just lying in general or following some other form of lying. He actually is doing exactly taqiyya. He's denying his religious beliefs. But I want to point out something else here. He comes into the chat and he thinks that by pretending to not be a Muslim, he has greater credibility. He implicitly is telling us that non-Muslims have more credibility than Muslims. And why would that be the case? Well, because we know that Muslims lie. He knows that Muslims lie. He knows he is lying. So he knows he doesn't have any credibility, so he pretends to be someone else.
Correct. And this is very common. Let's have a look. Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to show some examples of that as well. We've all seen countless examples, right? Yeah. Guys, in the chat, click on live chat. Don't, it often says top chat, but on top of the chat function, you'll see this little drop down. It says top chat. Click on that and go to live chat. Okay. So notice, yeah. So he's found an out to not call takfir on this other guy who claimed that Muhammad never married. Right? So they will dance around and just exhaust you. And that's the whole point. The point is not to be drawn in to their game. Right. Okay. Asif Maki. Okay. He constantly changes his title, but his name is Asif Maki. He's in England. He's a Pakistani Muslim. And excellent. Should they see it now? Well done. Okay. Welcome, Farish. Good to see you, man. Okay. And notice, now, Asif was claiming that he is Christian. And then when I called him on it, anyway, let's just read. This makes no sense. This guy has issues. Also, I am not baptized by water yet, but I am baptized by spirit because Jesus baptizes by spirit and not water. That's fascinating theology, but that's fine. So Christians get baptized with water. Lloyd, get your facts correct. When I called him on it, I have not said that I am a Christian. Okay. I've said that I'm with the Christians and the Messianic Jews, Hebrew speakers, and that I am a Trinitarian and a Muslim. He's a Trinitarian Muslim, right? Religion of Islam does not own the word Muslim. Muslim word existed before the religion of Islam because Quran say, basically, I am a Trinitarian with the Quran. That is incoherent garbage, right? And then this is common. This just confuses the issue because when I called him out, he eventually started to admit that he wasn't a Christian because I called him out because I know him from the year before. So yeah, and just let me know if you have any thoughts, Thaddeus. Okay, so what is Islam? He says, right? What is religion of Islam? After Christ, there is no religion to come, i.e., Muhammad did not start the religion of Islam. As I said, Mo has to have been on Christ's side to have been a true prophet. So Muhammad had to have been on the side of Jesus to be a true prophet, and no religion would he have introduced, and he would be with Christ, e.g. Isa, who was crucified and rose up. I accept Isa was crucified. If you're not happy with that, tough. That wasn't the topic of the discussion. So now he's trying to align himself with Christianity to give Muhammad legitimacy. I mean, that is your thoughts on this, because this is gobbledygook.
Yeah, well, I don't say this to be mean. I think in this case, Asif probably does struggle with mental illness. That said, he is getting this material from someone. He might not be able to comprehend what he's saying. He might be very confused and tell us weird, bizarre theories, but he's getting it from someone. He's getting it from a Muslim who is either he's pretending or he's getting it from a Muslim who's taking advantage of his mental illness to use him as a pawn, to use him as fodder for the canon, if you will.
Agreed. Now, look, I know someone who's familiar with him. I have had contact with someone who is familiar with him and has told me certain things about him. This man is a devout Muslim, spends a lot of time at the mosque, and apparently he is not one. So I'm still not answered with whether you believe me or not. I'm not a Muslim. That I swear. That's Lawrence again.
I was just going to ignore that, but
yeah. Okay, right. Well, let's just go on. So this is Faisal. Okay, this is Faisal Suktian. Faisal is another legend in his own mind. Okay, so he says here, no, I didn't back down from anything. You just have a wrong impression of what a Quranist is. Now, unfortunately, we know that they often all become Quranist Muslims the moment you start to show them sources outside of the Quran, which they cannot defend. And then they go, no, I only do the Quran. I am a major scholar. I interpret the Quran. Let me interpret it for you. All the scholars are wrong, right? And he says, and that is none of my concern. Being one who isn't based on an ultimatum like it is with a Salafi, where one is ordained to accept all hadiths in totality and nothing else. There are two types of Quranists, he tells us. Two kinds of Quranists. I thought there's only Quranists and non-Quranists. Guys who do the Quran and reject everything else, and guys who, proper Muslims. But he says the purists that genuinely don't accept anything else besides the Quran, and hadith relativists like myself that accept what is endorsed by the Quran. But why am I even boring you with actual learning? It's obvious you're not here for that. That conversation just suddenly went off the rails there. So he's a hadith relativist, and he accepts what is endorsed by the Quran. I don't know, Thaddeus?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there aren't any hadith that are endorsed by the Quran. But I love this. I'm a Quranist, except I'm not. And, a Quranist means that you accept the Quran only. So I'm a Quranist, but I accept hadith too. I mean, it's just a contradiction in terms. And it's a way to escape. When he needs to reject a hadith, he's a Quranist. When he needs a hadith to support something he says, he believes in hadith. He's giving himself a license.
Not the hadith that we show him, though. That's not the right hadith.
Of course. He's giving himself a license to change whether a source is acceptable on the fly. And if we asked him, okay, so can you give us a list of hadith that you accept? He'd say, I don't know exactly what he'd say, but I bet he'd say something like, no, I can't write them all in here. That would take too long, or something along those lines. They never will let you nail them down to a specific position. If
right?
he was nailed down to being Quran only, that's a specific position. So he's a Quranist, but he's not.
Yeah, exactly. They try to escape holding a specific position. They want to deny their doctrine because once you've painted them into a corner like that, they unfortunately have to own what is in their scholarly documents, what is in the Sharia. And remember, they cannot reveal the Sharia. It's illegal for them. It's a secret, right? It's a weakness for Islam. Notice Mr. Khan is back now, right? Why are Christians acting like the disbelievers of the old? See, he's off topic. Where did the word Christianity come from? As if that's an important question. Understand? Yes, and that last one. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Mr. Khan, this is a Muslim that I posted this hadith here, right? Let me show you. Aisha said to the Messenger of Allah, "It is you, Muhammad, who pretend to be a prophet from Allah." So Aisha tells Muhammad that he is only pretending. Aisha tells us that Muhammad only pretended to be a prophet. Now, my question to you is Aisha lying? Is Aisha a liar for saying this? Why did Aisha say Muhammad only pretends? Right? Then there's this answer from a Muslim. Lloyd, you don't know how to question. Muhammad did not have a wife named Aisha. Muhammad never married. Now I'm asking, is this Muslim lying to us? And why would he lie like this? Please answer. We'd like to know.
Yeah, Mr. Khan, you can take your pick there. You can address either of these Muslim comments, but you can't agree with both of them because they are contradictory. You can't not have a wife named Aisha and Aisha have a wife named Aisha who tells him that he pretended to be a prophet. So do let us know what the real story is here. And do let us know why these Muslims are lying in these comments.
Right. So yeah, so understand they will throw anything and anyone under the bus. Okay, so this is now I want to show something with A. Abrams. So I'll go through my list and then I'll go step briefly into the Sharia and then I want to just well, I mean, then I want to talk about like just how do we deal with this because this is not a good faith conversation. So notice I say to A. Abrams here, show me the akida, their creed, and I'll show the creed in a while. Show me the creed of Islam or the fiqh or these Sharia laws that says to love non-Muslims and Jews and Christians. Why is this proving so hard? Because he would show me anything but. He would go into long spiels. Now, I need to tell you guys that this long spiel, often you will ask a Muslim, please show me where it says to love Christians in Islamic law, right? Where it says to love us, not to protect us, because look, the mafia will also give you protection. The mafia does protection too, right? But of course, we say, show me where it says to love us. Show me in those words. And he went off into multiple different spiels, but he wrote a very long rant starting with this. Based on the above, classical Muslim scholars and jurists have categorized friendship with non-Muslims into 4 levels and stages. Muwalat or muwadda, this means to have close and intimate relation and deep love and affection from one's heart for a non-Muslim, such that it makes a Muslim unmindful of his faith. I've never seen this in my life, to be honest. I've read the Sharia a lot. I have never seen this in my life because this is easily contradicted by any of the Islamic sources. But then he goes to this one. This means to express friendship. It's called mudarat. This means to express friendship and love only outwardly, without having love for them and their beliefs internally. It is a mere outward expression of the first stage, hence it entails being pleasant, friendly, polite, and kind towards non-Muslims. It involves expressing good manners, courtesy, and good behavior towards fellow human beings. This kind of relationship with non-Muslims is permitted, as it is reserved for all human beings, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's go have a look at this. Let's go see mudarat. He actually uses the word mudarat. Let's go have a look at what mudarat is. Let's start here. So mudarat, in Imami tradition, right? This is in the Encyclopedia of Islam. It is treating others in a friendly manner while concealing your true attitude towards them. So it's treating them in a friendly manner while actually concealing your true feelings. Okay, let's have a look at what those true feelings are. Let's look here. Now, of course, actually, let me show this particular slide. So let me show this slide. This is 2 pages, 2 slides. This is Quran 60 verse 4. You have a fair example in Abraham and the ones with him, as they said to their people, surely we are completely quit of you. We are done with you, right? And whatever you worship apart from Allah. So in other words, we have no association with people who worship anything other than Allah. We disbelieve in you, and between you and us enmity, which is in the dictionary defined as hostility, hatred, ill will, animosity, antagonism, has appeared. And abhorrence, which is defined as extreme repugnance, loathing, abomination, forever until you believe in Allah alone. So we will hate you with abhorrence, with loathing, with antagonism, hatred, until you believe in Allah alone. This brings us to the doctrine of al-wala wal-bara, disassociation and enmity, loyalty and disavowal, loyalty to the Muslims, love for Muslims, and hatred, absolute, abject hatred of non-Muslims. Now notice it says in the doctrine of al-wala al-bara, after loving Allah and His Messenger, Allah obligates us to hate those who oppose Allah and His Messenger, those who are non-Muslims, right, who will not accept Islam. And the Islamic belief, the akida, this is their version of the Nicene Creed, their equivalent of the Nicene Creed, obligates every Muslim to hate the people of shirk. That's you. This obligation comes from the creed of Abraham, the creed that we are ordered to follow. So Abraham, apparently, who was a Muslim, ordered all the Muslims to hate non-Muslims. And this is what Abraham apparently taught, and this is what Muslims are doing. Your thoughts, Thaddeus, before we go to the stupid, what a dumb comment by this stupid Mr. Khan.
So Usama Dakduk said that he challenged a woman who was saying that Islam is a beautiful religion, etc., to find just one beautiful verse in the entire Quran, one loving verse. And she actually took up this challenge, and she read through the Quran, and then she came back to him, a week or two later in tears because she couldn't find anything of value in the Quran. She had honestly believed that it was this beautiful book based on what she told, and she couldn't find anything about loving anyone in the Quran. Yeah. And that's the reality. There is no such thing in Islam. There is nothing about loving anyone. It's about serving Allah as a slave serves a master. There is no love in Islam. We have a
Remember, we've asked Safraz to show us why the Sharia is beautiful. He was not able to do so.
Yeah, he just got up there and kept asserting that he believed it and that it was beautiful, but he couldn't provide any reason. Servant Girl has a related.
Stop sharing for a moment. Go on.
Servant Girl has a related question here. So why so focused on Christians and Jews? Why is Islam so focused on Christians and Jews and not the rest of the world, East Asia, Buddhism, Hinduism, and other religions? I'll let you share your thoughts first, and then I might have a couple thoughts as well.
Well, you know what? If I may, I just need to do one thing, Thaddeus. I overlooked something, and I will answer her in just a moment. If I may, I need to share my screen again.
Sure.
And my apologies. On that point that we've just made about the doctrine of al-wala wal-bara, which is the hatred of non-Muslims, notice it says here, a jihadi gets the highest level of reward in Islam for killing and being killed in the way of jihad, right? Notice, though, that same level goes for people who hate Jews and Christians, okay, who die not in combat, but who die secretly hating non-Muslims. Those who died after spending their lives waging war against the appetite of soul, the lower soul, right, were regarded as martyrs, okay, even if he dies in his own bed. This person is a shahid who will be treated as if he had been killed fighting alongside the Prophet. That's great, because you see, you're trying to overcome your conscience. Your conscience doesn't want you to become a hateful human being, but Islam requires you, as part of its creed, to hate non-Muslims. Notice here, other traditions declare martyr those who in their lifetime practiced mudarat. Mudarat is the word that, unfortunately, Abraham said, okay, that Muslims must practice. Notice, who practiced mudarat, who treated others in a friendly manner while concealing their true attitude towards them. And that true attitude is hatred. You become a martyr for doing so. You earn great reward from Allah for hating the non-Muslim. There is no love in Islam. It is purely hatred of the non-Muslim. I'll stop there. Yeah.
So absolutely, that Islam is about hating the other. We have a new Muslim in the chat who seems to agree with us. But I want to answer this question from Servant Girl first, and then we'll get to
this
Captain
is incredible.
Yemeni.
Thaddeus, you need to show this.
The Captain Yemeni?
No. This just, see, some of them are so blatant, and what happens is then they call, I'll paste this in your Skype and you can show this to everyone, and then they call Islamophobia when you reveal what it is. I mean, Have a look at that.
Yes. Okay. Let me share the screen.
Here's another one. Some of them are very open about it. There we go.
So this is the first one you sent me, which says, "Why are we to love you? What is your obsession with love? We bring the sword to idolaters, not love. See the more." And this is actually very similar to the...
Seethe more, seethe.
Oh,
Seethe
sorry.
inside, emotionally.
Yes, sorry. I corrected an error that wasn't an error.
Sure.
And then Captain Yemeni in our own chat said something similar. He said, "Why in the world should we love enemies of Allah in the first place?"
Now,
And
these
then
are
the
also
one you...
being honest.
And then the one you just sent me, "Yes, get ready, black flags and jizya soon." So here we have...
You're an Islamophobe.
Right. Are these Muslims making these comments to us? Are they Islamophobic? Because if we make comments like this, we're called Islamophobic. But isn't it, after all, Allah who made people Islamophobic by making Muhammad victorious by bringing terror upon people? Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah.
But
And Saffraz Hussein says, please love and respect other religions. Where does it say in the akida and the fiqh to love and respect other religions? Please show me, Saffraz. If you cannot show me, then I'm going to call you a liar, because you are. There is no such command. Yeah?
So Saffraz, are these Muslims, Abu Abbas and Captain Yemeni, are they false Muslims? Or are they telling us the accurate? And by the way, didn't you tell us just like, I don't know, last weekend that it was good to kill people who were not Muslims,
Yes.
who had left Islam? So make up your mind, Saffraz. Should we love and respect other religions, or should we fight against other religions? He says no one should hate. That's astonishing, Saffraz, because you come and you spew your hate on my channel constantly. So maybe you should follow your own advice and stop hating me so much. I believe you've probably even used the words that you hate Christianity, you hate Christians, you hate the Bible. But you just told me no one should hate. So Saffraz, two things from you. One, I want you to tell us that these other Muslims are not true Muslims, and that they have misunderstood Islam and they're committing grave sins. And then two, I want you to tell us...
We'll takfir on them for being false. Tell us they are liars.
And then I want you to... I'm glad that you don't hate me, Saffraz. I don't hate you either. I want you to tell me, however, where your Quran or your authentic hadith tell you to love people of other religions. Yeah. I want you to tell me...
Show us in the akida. Show us in the Sharia as well. Where does it say to love Jews and Christians? Please show me the place in those words.
Yes, I want specific sources. I don't want... Well, it's in this book somewhere. I don't know the page number. Give us specific sources that are reliable in Islam. We'll be generous today and say that we're going to allow you to use any source you want. We're not even going to restrict what it is. I just want you to show anything in Islam that backs this claim that you should love and respect other religions. Luckily, Captain Yemeni is not on the same page as Saffraz here. He says, I don't love you at all, fellas. Well, we still love you, Captain Yemeni.
He's being honest. We are enemies of Allah. Right? And he's instructed in his akida to hate us.
But I bet you Captain Yemeni won't be willing to say that Saffraz is lying about Islam. Captain Yemeni, put in the chat that Saffraz is lying and he is not a true Muslim because he is teaching lies about what Islam teaches. We will see what happens here. In the meantime, I have In the meantime, I have some other comments going back to Servant Girl's question here about why Muslims are so obsessed with Christians and Jews specifically. And I think Villainous provides part of the answer here, and that's that the religion focuses on Christianity and Judaism because they're originally the closest people to the Muslims, geographically speaking. That these were the primary enemies of early Islam because they wanted the lands held by Christians and Jews. So their polemics, their God's eternal word for some reason only focuses on things that were relevant in 7th century Arabia, 8th century Arabia, 9th century Arabia, and that has no conception of anyone other than those people that a 7th century Arabian would come in contact with. But I don't think that's actually the whole answer. So it's part of the answer. And that's why
they believe that they believe that they are the true Christians. They believe that Abraham, Adam, Eve, Moses, David, everybody except for Paul was a Muslim, right? And don't forget, the Muslims will tell you polemics against St. Paul that come from the scholars. These polemics date from the 8th to the 14th century, which I've done a series on Thaddeus' channel on called Paulemics, Paul, E-M-I-C-S, Polemics, discussing the very detailed history, the laughably stupid, idiotic Islamic major scholars. We're talking scholars that Western scholars rave about, like, oh my God, it's Ibn Hazm, he was such a genius. When you read his works, the man was a complete idiot. He was a fool, okay? And scholars rave about him like, oh my God, Ibn Hazm. So what happens is, for instance, these scholars believe that St. Paul, our St. Paul, was King Saul, who was king of the Jews, who lived 600 years before Paul lived. Something like that, right? 500, 600 years. And then other scholars thought that Paul lived in the 3rd century, right? And these polemics are what Muslims are using from the very same scholars. I mean, the arguments are derived from these works by these scholars who thought Paul either lived 600 years prior or 300 years later, and it's idiotic. It's stupid. I mean, it's ridiculously funny when you read it, but and you're like, and these guys are repeating these arguments. These scholars didn't even know when Paul lived, right? So
yeah. Somehow they know these arguments, if we can call them that, against Paul and how he must be a false prophet, but they don't even know when he lived. He either lived in the 9th century BC or he lived in the 3rd century AD. They can't make up their mind about when Paul lived.
And they say Muhammad's the first Muslim. Mick Emes is right. And then Adam is the first Muslim. Abraham's the first Muslim. Khadija's the first Muslim. You're like, okay, they're all the first Muslim? You're like, huh? So
hey, don't forget that there's also a random Egyptian that was that the Quran specifically says was the first Muslim.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I just want to show you guys one more thing, which is the actual creed of Islam. Okay.
Oh well. Sorry. Before we move on,
sure.
just to finish this question from Servant Girl. So I think it is partially historical. Despite its claims, Islam doesn't have any knowledge of the world other than what a normal person of the 8th century living in Arabia would have. But it's also partially demonic. It's partially specifically designed to be an anti-Christian religion. That it's not accidental that it denies the core beliefs of Christianity specifically, because after all, it was started by a cave demon who squeezed Muhammad. So when you keep that in mind, it doesn't actually come out that surprising that it wants to attack Christianity. It wants to attack truth. Satan doesn't necessarily care if people are following Islam or they're following Hinduism. Those are both equally fine in his mind because they're both equally false religions. But if they're following Christianity or they're following Judaism, which is Christianity is the completion of Judaism, that's a big problem because then they're actually following the true God. And that needs to be counteracted by these satanic demonic forces.
Yeah. No. Very well. Very good answer, I think. Marianne Brian Gruheim says that Paul became a non-Muslim the day an Abdul actually cracked open the first Bible, and that's actually what I do say in the talk. Once they actually got a hold of the Bible, they realized, like, oops, we made a mistake. That's exactly what I state in the talk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I'll put a link to that in the description. Our two parts on polemics.
Yeah, Islam has two purposes, and one of those purposes is actually, let me bring this up, and then I will do the akida if I may, Thaddeus.
Yep.
So to try and answer her question as well. So let me show this here. Islam, if you read Quran 4:157, okay, and it's rare that I actually quote the Quran. It's actually very rare. Islam has two purposes, right? Its religious purpose, right? Basically, to correct the Bible, to correct. So Islam rejects the gospel, and it wants to correct the gospel. It wants to correct this misunderstanding of the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Jesus, and it wants to replace Jesus with Muhammad, right? Understand that Jesus is being replaced by Muhammad. Muhammad is the counterfeit Jesus. According to Islam, Muhammad is the real Jesus. He is the real partner of Allah. Okay? And then its political purpose, which is commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. This is the fundamental doctrine of Islam. But this is its religious purpose, to correct. And this is a completely Gnostic understanding. And don't forget that Islam, in its sources, does claim explicitly in the Sharia to be a Gnostic religion. Gnosticism was a reaction to Christianity, at least what people call Christian, anti-Christian Gnosticism. This pseudo-biblical Gnosticism was a reaction to Christianity, and it was denial of the Christian doctrine. And these stories of Gnosticism have literally made their way into the Islamic sources. The Gnostic Gospels are quoted copiously within the Islamic literature. These Gnostic stories are common. So it is borrowed from that, and it states so explicitly in the Sharia. It is a Gnostic religion. So let me go to the akida before I touch on this Gnostic thing. But notice, this is again, their equivalent of the Nicene Creed. Oh, and by the way, this other guy, what's his face? Whatever this guy was, Safraz. No. Safraz is saying, please show us.
Yeah. We'll come back to Safraz. I want you to finish your presentation first, but just to reiterate, the challenge of Safraz is to show us anything that says to love and respect Jews and Christians, to love and respect people who are non-Muslims. The verse that you quote, or the hadith that you quoted there, has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, correct. Show me, where does it say love Jews, love Christians, love non-Muslims? Show me where it says that in your akida, in your fiqh. Show me. I'm waiting for it. Not a single Muslim has answered. Now, on this point, so we have here the basic orthodoxy. This is their equivalent of the Nicene Creed. If you're Christian, we all say the Nicene Creed, right? This is the akida. It comes from the 9th century. Akida refers to those matters of faith which are believed in with certainty and conviction in one's heart and soul. They are not tainted with any doubt or uncertainty, right? Like the Nicene Creed, it establishes orthodox beliefs and refutes deviations. It is the foundation of the Islamic faith. It consists of matters which are known from the Quran and sound ahadith, and which Muslims must believe in his heart. This, make a note of this, okay? In acknowledgement of the truth of Allah and his messenger. Popular statements of basic Sunni Islamic doctrine or articles of faith are the Aqidah al-Tahawiyah, the Ash'ari Creed, Aqidah, and the Maturidi, amongst others. Akida is also a primary science in Islam. It's a science, okay? It's a whole long list of like 100 and something statements, okay? And notice, this is a legal loophole. He doesn't have to say it verbally, as long as he holds it in his heart. He doesn't have to speak it in his mouth. This is will versus logos. Logos is logic. Logos is truth. God is logos. Jesus is the logos. But understand, logos has a connotation, an aspect of speaking the truth spoken, right? Whereas the truth is concealed, right? Notice these are just 3 statements from the Aqidah, number 73 to 75. You'll find slightly different lists, but they're all similar. We follow the Sunnah of Muhammad, not the Quran, the Sunnah, and the congregation of the Muslims, and we avoid deviation, differences, and divisions. We love the people of justice, that's Muslims, and trustworthiness, that's Muslims, and we hate the people of injustice and treachery. That's you. If you're not a Muslim, that's you. So we hate the people of injustice and treachery because we don't worship Allah. We don't worship Muhammad. We all know you worship Muhammad. By the way, on a side topic, remember in Islam, when you go to the loo, when you go do a number 2, you need 3 stones to clean your boom boom with. There are 3 stones stuck in the corner of the Kaaba. I'm just thinking, is there a connection? Was this like all they had left to like commemorate Mo with? Is this like 3 stones? I just find it weird, glued with wax or tar in the, I just, can someone help me out with that connection? I'm just wondering. Moving on to number 75. And when our knowledge about something is unclear, we say Allah knows best. That is actually ingrained in Muslims. This is part of their creed. But notice they are to hate you if you're not a Muslim. So hopefully that makes it clear. So what's his face? Jesus said, "Love your enemies." So please
Hey,
love Prophet Muhammad. So Safraz again. This fool. I'll stop here. I'll stop sharing. Your turn. That is.
sure. So we'll go to Sapphiros first, since you want. So this is what he said. Jesus said, "Love your enemies, to love the Prophet Muhammad." And I did save his earlier comment as well. Prophet Muhammad said, "Whoever would love to taste the flavor of faith, let him love a person only for the sake of Allah Almighty." So this first one, your first attempt here, this says whoever wants to be a true Muslim should love people for the sake of Allah. So a Muslim should love Muslims. Got it. That wasn't what we asked
Remember,
you for.
it says in the Bible that even the evil people. Well, what's that verse that says that even tax collectors love their own people, but you need to love others, right? It says that even the evil people love their sons and daughters. So that's not a hardship. Loving your enemies. So I mean, there's a verse on that in there. But go on, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. I'll pull that up in just a second. But his other comment here, which, sorry, I'm trying to do multiple things at once. His other comment was that Jesus said to love your enemies, so please love Prophet Muhammad. Well, actually, Safraz, Muhammad isn't my enemy. Muhammad's dead. He's just an empty, rotting corpse. I don't make enemies with rotting corpses, or long gone corpses, I should say. His bones are probably starting to disintegrate. He's been dead so long. However, you, in a sense, are an enemy of Christianity. You are an enemy of mine. And I do love you. That's why I do these shows. This is why I do this sort of thing. That said, did Jesus say that that loving people means never telling them that they're wrong? Did Jesus say that you should just let the false religious teachers go about teaching falsely? Or did he strongly condemn those who were speaking falsity? You would say to Jesus, you aren't loving those Pharisees when you call them names. So you're telling me that we don't love Prophet Muhammad, which actually I don't have any emotional response or any love response, positive or negative, to Muhammad, because he doesn't exist. He's gone. He can't be an object of my emotion. But that said, if he was alive now, telling him that he is a false teacher, strongly rebuking him, calling him names, would not be not loving him. It would be loving. Telling the truth is loving. This is what you need to understand. In Islam, loving, well, the word loving doesn't really exist, but proper behavior is telling someone lies if it makes them feel better about themselves. In
No.
Islam, well, assuming they're a Muslim, I should have specified. Assuming they're a Muslim, lying for their benefit, that's good behavior. Lying for your own benefit, that's also good behavior. In Christianity, loving someone means telling them the truth, regardless of the consequences. If Christianity is true and non-Christians are condemned to hell, it would be completely and totally hateful to not try to reach people with that message.
Yeah. If I may, so Servant Girl says Matthew 5:46, for if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And that's exactly true. Now, notice Andrew Martin next says, for Muslims, love is a demand for respect for Muhammad. And then, of course, our little friend comes along and says, oh, did that comment disappear? No. He says, Andrew Martin, you are welcome, and I am very proud of that. He's agreeing. That is the case. So yes, it's a demand. But notice, to love Prophet Muhammad it's phrased as an invitation, but it is really a subtle, dishonest demand. It's a deception, right? It's trying to twist those words and to say, well, then you must love and respect Muhammad. This is a Trojan horse. It is all Trojan horses, slipping it in the back door, right? To love. So in other words, you must not criticize, but we are to criticize evil. We are to criticize what is ill, what is evil, what is sick, right? And this unfortunately is the case. So this is it's a way to try to derail the conversation and to also prey on your goodwill, your good nature, and to try to subvert that.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. They're trying to take advantage of the fact, or at least the perception, that Christians are very nice, very hesitant to call other people wrong. And this is actually not really a Christian thing. This is a Western pop culture thing. But to the average Muslim, there is no difference between Christianity and the West. Even if half of many Western countries aren't Christians, they still view them all as Christians because they have light skin and that's all they can think about. Ajlal, which is presumed to be Alonzo, which I don't know why he went and created another account since I hadn't actually blocked Lawrence yet, but I guess he was exposed and needed to create a new account. He asked, "Do you love me?" Rewind the tape. To love someone is to tell them the truth when they are in grave error and their soul is in
right,
in danger of eternal damnation.
right. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to do one or two more of these examples just to bring these up, and just to give us. Let me go back here.
Yep. So
Interesting.
let's get through your examples first, and then I
Yeah.
have some other
So
comments that I've
I see I
collected
didn't
throughout.
find the example of where this guy, I think this is Safraz's other pseudonym, one of his other alt accounts. Someone murdered your best low. Yeah. Okay. I'm on a different issue already. We'll
Yeah,
get
yeah,
back
yeah.
to that.
You weren't intended to read this comment. I just put it up there because it was related.
Yeah. But notice how they will try to distract you successfully. You need to keep pressing. You need to keep providing evidence. Don't forget that they lose credibility when you start showing the truth, when you start to back it up with facts, because sophistry of this type looks like sophistry of after time. People can see that it's just word games. It's just a clown show. Notice, so this guy says, Aisha praised Prophet Muhammad. Aisha reported the Messenger of Allah never struck anything with his hand, neither a woman nor a servant, unless he was fighting in the way of Allah. So, in other words, Muhammad only hit women in jihad. Now, this guy then, because I quoted a different Sahih Muslim, okay, I quoted this Sahih Muslim hadith here. And then he told me this is a false narration. It's a false hadith. Notice he's quoting me Sahih Muslim as well. He says, Muhammad struck me on the chest, which caused me pain. And he said, did you think that Allah and his apostle would deal unjustly with you? In other words, to hit Aisha would be just, would be something that is righteous, that is holy, that is correct, right? So unfortunately, he was fighting in the way of Allah. So yeah, that must have been jihad. Now, how is Mo hitting Aisha just? Now, for those Muslims in the chat, okay, see, the problem is you have Jews hate, blah, blah. Safraz, we're not talking about that. You see, you're proof of what we're saying. You cannot stay on topic. You cannot defend Islam. So you have to redirect off the subject. And this is what they're going to do over and over. Muslims, we've just shown. See, notice he's now lying about what we said earlier. Muslims hate Jesus. They say Muslims say that Jesus was born amongst feces, menstrual blood, and urine. Right? This is their view. This is their filthy, disgusting view of Jesus. They state that we as Christians urinate on ourselves in the church benches. Right? This is their polemic. This is what they believe, that we urinate on ourselves in the church benches. Now, of course, this is slander. Now, of course, we're not allowed to tell the truth about Islam. They consider this slander in the Islamic law, whereas Islam has 6 laws for what they call permissible slander, where they are permitted legally to slander other people. Right? Now, notice, so here we've got this guy is actually using a hadith that actually does not corroborate his story, that actually contradicts him, but whatever. Okay? Now, so this guy again will tell us, okay, so I said here, this is from the Hidayah. The destruction of the sword is incurred by infidels, though they be not the first aggressors, as appears from various passages in the sacred writings. Infidels, that's non-Muslims, may be attacked without provocation. That is the Sharia. That is jihad. Okay, in other words, they're stating Muslims may attack non-Muslims violently, right? This with swords and kill them. That's what destruction means. This is fully legal and fully normal, lawful in jihad law, right? And of course, this guy says, blah, blah. And they speak here of this, the covenant of protection obligates us. Now, this guy's quoting this as a defense. The problem is, this is dhimmi law for after they have fought you violently in jihad and subjugated you. Now, remember, in jihad, as the law will state, your wife immediately is divorced from you and she becomes a slave. She can be used for sex. She can be sold, right? She can be put into hard labor. Your children are removed from you. They can become sex slaves. They can be sold. They can be used for hard labor, right? They forget to tell us this. Now, why is he quoting us dhimmi law for after Islamic jihad has subjugated the Jews and Christians, right? When I'm stating the exact law, now he's using this is a distraction. Again, we should not be distracted by this. We need to bring up these laws over and over. These guys are doing copy-paste polemics. We need to do copy-paste counter-polemics, quite bluntly. It's as simple as that. We need to just, so understand. Now, here's another question we need to ask. It states here, the covenant of protection obligates us to grant them rights and protection. The mafia will also give you protection if you pay them protection. It's exactly the same. There is no difference. And if you don't pay the protection, what does the mafia do to you? Yeah, my apologies. It is very difficult for me to zoom in. Okay. I know, understand. I do understand that. I do apologize that the font's a bit small. The covenant of protection obligates. Now, notice this is law that is applicable after the violent jihad has subjugated you. This is dhimmi law. This is the laws of dhimmitude. Now, here's a question you need to ask them when they tell you this. What happens if you don't accept their covenant? What if you refuse it? What if you break the covenant? Okay, ask them. They will not answer you because they know if you refuse it, they will kill you in jihad. If you break it, they will kill you in jihad. Understand? Because a dhimmi is effectively, legally a prisoner of war. And then, of course, we have Alonzo Harris, who will come into every single chat and say the following: Lloyd believes in 3 gods. Every single time. Of course,
or whoever is speaking. It doesn't have to just be Lloyd. It'll be whoever is speaking. Jay believes in 3 gods. Hatun believes in 3 gods. Thaddeus believes in 3 gods. Same line, just change the name.
And of course, I always tell him, Alonzo believes in a broken rock glued together with tar that likes a kissy, that he calls Allah, because it's true. And I ask him, have you kissed your pet rock lately? Right? Because this is true. He believes in a pet rock called Allah. Okay? Now I ask this guy, forgiving Rohan, why do you think that hating people because they're not Muslims is good? As your deen teaches, as your akida teaches. And he says, Islam does not teach us to hate anyone. It teaches us to share love with everyone and guide them on the right path. That is a lie, right? So I said, it teaches hatred. I showed it on the screen. I showed it from your akida. Show me where it says to love Jews and Christians. And of course, this is not happening. They will not show me, right? And then, of course, they say the things that Lloyd says are untrue and ridiculous. Well, I'm not saying it. I'm reading it off the page. These are the standard Islamic Orthodox texts. It's their creed, their version of the Nicene Creed, their particular, type of Nicene Creed. I'm reading it from the Sharia manuals. So, and then they will bring it into the Quran. Nowhere in the Quran is mentioned that Abraham hates Jews and Christians, right? Understand, the Quran is the lowest level of knowledge in Islam. There are multiple levels of knowledge in Islam. The Quran is at the absolute bottom. This is why lay Muslims must talk about the Quran and the Hadith, or some Hadith, because they represent the absolute bottom, lowest level, basic baby level, ABC, crayons needed level of Islam. Okay, this is Islam with crayons. If you know the Quran, that means you are at the absolute bottom, basic ABC crayon level of Islam. Right, and that's why they have to bring it back to that, because that's all they can deal with, right? Because they can go in circles. Once you go to the knowledge of the scholars, the imams, things are black and white. Now, how can I be lying?
Before you move on, yep. I wanted to address this comment,
sure.
Because it's very illustrative here. I presume you didn't actually say that Abraham hates Jews and Christians. You probably said something like the Sharia teaches hate of Jews and Christians.
And the scholars state that Abraham teaches this hatred, because I showed it. Remember that Abraham's creed states to hate us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what he's done, and he's tried to narrow the issue. Right. He says nowhere in the Quran is it mentioned, or the Quran. I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce it with a C, but
Yeah.
maybe Soran, that's it. In the Soran is mentioned that Abraham hates Jews or Christians, but that was never the claim. So
That's
he's
actually the
saying,
old French spelling. That's actually the old French spelling. So this guy might be Indo Tunisian or Moroccan or something. That's the French spelling of the Quran.
okay, well, I'll retract that then. I thought maybe he was trying to misspell it on purpose
Yeah.
to say one thing without saying it. But even ignoring that, he claims that you're saying things that are untrue and ridiculous, and then he says nowhere in the Quran is it mentioned that Abraham hates Jews or Christians. He's subtly changed the issue. He's
Yeah.
changed it from what you actually said to something else to try to make you look stupid. What he says is true. Nowhere in the Quran is it mentioned that Abraham hates Jews or Christians, but that wasn't the claim. But by stating it, he's trying to make it look like you said that. He's trying to make someone who hasn't watched it or didn't listen carefully think that you actually said something so ridiculous. In other words, he's trying to gaslight here. He's trying to create a false reality and then refute that false reality.
Agreed. Correct. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. You know what? I'll end here with my section. There's one or two things I might bring up in a little bit, but yeah, I wanted to bring up some of these. So actually, no. Sorry, my bad, Thaddeus. I need to go back to sharing. So I'll end off with the following. Sorry, guys, I didn't exactly prepare this the way I normally would something. I just wanted to bring these up, bring this to your attention. By the way, this is my archive. Okay, this I give free to everyone. It has 1,400 plus books. Okay, many of which are behind paywalls, which I've managed to secure. So there are hundreds, over 1,400 books here. Okay, so this folder is going to be very useful to you, this dictionaries and references folder. It is going to be extremely useful to you to find most of the books that you need, like the encyclopedias of Islam. You're going to need those things, right? The Brill encyclopedias of Islam, you'll find those extremely useful. The encyclopedia of the Quran, you're going to find extremely useful. All right. All right. Now, also, sophistry, for instance, a couple of examples. Now, the scholar in the West that most cleverly described this kind of sophistry, this kind of lying, the tactics of lying. He described 38 tactics that these sophists commonly use. Now, the Muslims copied this from the Greek sophists, who were professional liars. Right? These were professional liars who developed an art of never being wrong. This was their sophistry. Right? Aristotle ranted against them. Right? He called them liars. He defeated them, and that's one of the reasons Aristotle was killed, because he was unpopular for defeating the sophists. Right? So these were people who could manipulate the truth. Right? Carry the opponent's propositions beyond its natural limits, exaggerate it. The more general your opponent's statement becomes, the more objections you can find. The more restricted and narrower his or her propositions remain, the easier they are to defend. So they will try to misrepresent your statement and make it broad so they can attack it. Okay? Right? Now, then, so do not let him misrepresent your statement by making it broad, and then he can strawman it by attacking something you didn't quite say. They use different meanings of the opponent's words to refute his or her argument. Schopenhauer made a list of these. Right now, they don't use all of them. They just tend to repeat some of them over and over, as we've mentioned about. Okay, they ignore the opponent's proposition, which was intended to refer to a particular thing. Rather, they understand it in a different sense and then refute it. That's exactly what this guy did. The example we just mentioned, Thaddeus. So they attack something different than that which was asserted. Okay. Hide your okay, so I'll use your opponent's beliefs against them. Notice they will always attack Christianity. They will then misrepresent it, right? And so on. They will confuse the issue by changing the words or what he or she seeks to prove, right? Let's see. They will state your proposition and show the truth of it by asking the opponent many questions. What is the meaning of Christianity? Was Paul really a Christian? Understand, they will go all over the place to try to distract, right? Okay. Make your opponent angry. An angry person is less capable of using judgment or perceiving where his or her advantage lies. Use your opponent's answers to your questions to reach different or even opposite conclusions. Right? So there's a whole list of these that are discussed. Schopenhauer's 38 stratagems or 38 ways to win an argument. So in English, these are better than in the German because the English translators have expanded upon them and improved upon them in the English. So this is a basis for understanding this kind of sophistry and the kind of tactics, the dishonest tactics. And this is fully legal in Islam. It's called adab al-jadal, right? It's a way of using sophistry and rhetoric to falsely dispute. It's disputatio, to undermine an argument, to undermine the opponent, not to find truth, but to win at any cost. I'll stop there, Thaddeus. Up to you next.
All right. So we have a number of comments that I've selected from throughout. We have some good Muslim participation today. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for the Muslims for showing up and helping us demonstrate your tactics. I also want to encourage people to look at that document later. You'll see, although it's not actually written about Islam, you'll recognize a lot of the tactics on the list. I personally think that the most commonly used tactic is pretending to answer the question, giving something that can be read as an answer, but they're actually in their mind answering something different, so that they can not be lying in their mind because they're deceiving you, but they're not lying because it could be technically true if you read it the way they intended, even though they know you'll never read it that way. So Ajlal has been blocked for being Alonzo. And we'll start with these comments related to that from Captain Yemeni. Alonzo is our hero, brother. Why have you blocked Alonzo? You can't handle him, eh? So here is who you just called a hero, Captain Yemeni. Alonzo came on this channel. He had many conversations where he embarrassed himself to the point where he had to delete the thread because he was shown to be contradicting himself, to be false, people calling him out for supporting on Islamic beliefs. He deletes the thread. He promises to come on. I offered him 20 minutes to give a presentation on Paul, uninterrupted, on saying whatever he wanted. He was going to claim that Paul didn't believe that Jesus was a human being, and or that Jesus never existed. Very interesting position, and by interesting I mean one of the most ridiculous unacademic positions on the planet. But in any case, he was offered 20 minutes to give that presentation uninterrupted, or if he wanted more time, all he had to do was tell me he wanted more time. He agreed to a specific time at a specific day. The day comes, he doesn't show up. But lo and behold, one of his aliases in the chat, pretending not to be him. And then the next a couple of days later, he says, "Oh, sorry, I had a family event. I couldn't make it. I'm going to upload it on Tuesday. Or can I present it on your channel on Tuesday?" I said, "No, you were given a specific time and date 2 weeks in advance. You agreed to it. You don't get another chance. But here's what you can do. You can upload it on your own channel. Until you do that, I don't want to hear another thing from you." He said, "Okay, I'm going to upload it on Friday." Friday came. "Oh, I'm waiting till Sunday because that's when you get the most views." The guy has 2 subscribers. He wasn't going to get any views, regardless of what day.
He was going to go on a 300,000 channel. He was going to upload it on a 300,000 viewer channel.
Yep, that's his fifth lie. So that was his next lie. After that Sunday came and went, he said, "Oh, I've contacted a channel and they have like 300,000 subscribers and I'm going to upload it there." I asked him the name. He eventually gave me a name of a channel. It had like 60,000 subscribers, but whatever. Waited a week, came and went, never uploaded there. Kept asking him about it. He never would respond to it again. It just went out of his mind.
Me twice, you once, and Mary once. So it's 4 times he hasn't pitched.
Yep. So then I blocked a number of his accounts, and then Mary decided that she would have a debate with him. So I gave him another chance, beyond all reasonable things. I gave him yet another chance. He's been blocked a dozen times, and I've given him a chance every time to stop lying, to give sources, etc. So he promised to show up for a debate at a specific time and date. The night before the debate, he said he'd be there. 15 minutes before the debate, he was posting on another channel. Of course, he didn't show up at the start of the debate. Halfway through the debate, one of his aliases shows up in the chat and says that he doesn't have to come on and present because we changed the terms. So in other words, you are calling a guy who is running around like a chicken, making false promises, showing everyone how weak and pathetic he is, you're calling him a hero. This is what you respect, apparently, is people who lie and deceive and run and like scared little babies. Alonzo ran away from a woman because he apparently has less than half a brain. He is scared of his own shadow.
But
So that
notice also that Alonzo is actually earning reward for this. He is commanding the right. He's actually earning reward. Also, he's playing with us. He's toying with us. He's distracting us. If you look at it from a warfare perspective, this is harassment tactics to wear down your enemy, to waste their resources, right? And then he turns around. Now, there is no good faith to this. There is absolutely no good faith to this. But he thinks that he is being intelligent. He thinks he's using his resources well. Of course, he's just making himself and Islam out to be complete fools by being such a coward and a liar, right? But he thinks he's getting reward for this because he is fighting for Islam.
So Captain Yemeni said, "Lol, you can't brainwash me, mate. I know Alonzo very well." Do tell us how you know Alonzo so well. Do you maybe work in the same propaganda sweatshop? Do let us know. I've posted the link for the live chat. Any Muslim who'd like to talk with us live can come up. That means you, Captain Yemeni. You can come up and prove that you have more guts than your so-called hero, Alonzo, and actually speak with us, something Alonzo refused to do so many times. Going back to the comments from earlier here. Let's see. Marion said, which is the original Quran? I'll pay $10,000 to anyone who has it. There's a problem of the 30 plus different Quranic qira'ats readings, which is really different words and phrases in each Quran. So there you have it, Muslims. $10,000. You can assert all you want in the chat comments. You can gaslight us all you want about how there's only one Quran, and every Muslim knows this, and every Muslim has always believed this. But we know how to read. We know that if you have different words, it's not the same Quran. So $10,000, prove us wrong. Go ahead.
Look, everybody knows the Quran was written in 1924, and then they dumped all of the fake Qurans in the Nile River, and then the Quran was rewritten in 1985 in Saudi Arabia. So you had a Quran that was written in 1924 in Egypt, and then it was rewritten. So the Quran is only 47 years old?
Not very old. There's human beings older than the canonical Quran.
Yeah, because Alonzo loves to tell us that the Bible is only from 1600. Well, we know that the Quran is only from 1985.
Indeed.
So yeah, this was, yeah, sorry.
So I have several other comments that I wanted to bring up.
Please go ahead, yeah.
Let's see. So from earlier, Mr. Khan, I think you want to address this comment where he said you're not quoting hadith. He's quoting non-Quran.
I've mentioned earlier, Muslims are only allowed in Sharia law. Lay Muslims like this guy are at the absolute bottom level of knowledge, the lowest level of knowledge, called the Ibara, I-B-A-R-A. Okay, India, Bravo, Alpha, Romeo, Alpha. Right, the Ibara level. This is the absolute lowest level. And because they can read the Quran, because they're allowed access to the Quran, this means that the Quran is at the absolute bottom, lowest level of knowledge. However, there are also different ways, levels of understanding of the Quran, different levels of knowledge. Like the Imams above them read it and understand it differently to the way they do. So notice he is forcing us back into the hadith. For every hadith, there's an opposite hadith, a contradictory hadith. For every Quran verse, there's an opposite and contradictory Quran verse. So they can go in circles. But to sort out all of this confusion, all of this contradiction, that's why you have the ijma, the consensus of the scholars in the Sharia, right? And the Sharia is the final meaning, the final interpretation of this confusion. It's the final ruling, the final understanding. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the hard substrate, the hard surface, the foundation of the understanding. And it's all very clear in the Sharia. There's no confusion because it states this is what it means. It says to hate. There's no confusion. Nowhere in the Sharia does it say to love. It says hate the non-Muslims. So now he's forcing you to go back to the hadith because he believes the hadith are authoritative. They are not. That hadith is abrogated. That hadith has been abrogated by a new hadith or was abrogated by the Quran or something. So he's forcing you away from the source of authority. The main source of authority in Islam is not the Quran. The Quran is irrelevant. For the purposes of the Sharia, the Quran is irrelevant. the consensus of the scholars in the Sharia is the main source of Islam. Is not sola scriptura. Understand this. It is absolutely, positively not sola scriptura. Okay? The Sharia is the sole major source of authority in Islam. I'll leave it at that, Thaddeus.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that this is an excellent example, because what he said was true. You weren't quoting a hadith, but he's trying to imply that you were lying, saying it was a hadith, when you never made any such claim. He's saying something that is technically true, but he's trying to undermine you by making you look stupid, making you say that you said it was a hadith or whatnot. And of course, if you were quoting a hadith, he'd say, this guy's not quoting the Quran. Give us the Quran, or whatever the case may be. So the point here is to understand the tactic, understand what he's doing.
Wow. Captain Yemi's latest answer is it's incoherent. It's incoherent.
Well, by coincidence, he was up next here. So just to remind you, this is one of the very first things he said when he came in. Why in the world should we love the enemies of Allah? And then Safra said we should love the enemies of Allah.
Who was wrong? Who was lying? Please explain.
And I asked Captain to say that Safras is wrong, that he's misrepresenting Islam, that he is not a true Muslim. And he said, nah, I'm not going to say that. So there you go, exactly as I predicted. Even though he said the exact opposite thing as Safras, which means that if he's correct, Safras is misrepresenting Islam, he doesn't care. He cannot tell another Muslim, no matter what they say, that they are wrong. So thank you for illustrating
and
that.
Don't forget
point
the Islamic doctrine of lying. Lying is obligatory. It's an obligatory duty within Islam to lie, right, within Islamic law. And confusion, as one of the rules, confusion aids the purposes of Islam. So confusion helps Islam, right? Understand that. Absolutely.
And then he said to Andrew, well, matey, you know me for a long time. You know very well that I never pretend. I tell the facts on your face without fear, so deal with it. All right. Indeed, Captain Yemeni has come in here and he's been honest. He's told us that Islam teaches that you should hate the so-called enemies of Islam, that you should hate non-Muslims, especially Jews and Christians. So I do want to acknowledge and thank him for being honest. However, if you're actually going to be intellectually honest, if you're actually going to be honest with yourself, then you need to also call out Muslims who are teaching false things. You not just say that we're somehow wrong and we're somehow horrible people because we are teaching what Islam actually teaches. Or, as you claimed here, we know that you guys are very genius to distorting and twisting everything. What did we say that was a distortion today? What did we say that was twisted?
General statements, wide general statements, not focusing on the specifics. That's one of the tactics of sophists.
Exactly. He doesn't want to nail it down. People come and they leave this type of comment on my videos all the time. This guy tells many lies. This guy doesn't know anything, etc., etc. Every time I reply with more or less, give me one specific thing in the video that is incorrect. I have never once gotten an answer. Because, well, one, because they probably didn't watch the video in the first place, and two, they don't want to be nailed down. They want to give this general statement, give this impression, but they don't want to go into any specific because they know if they get to a specific, then they're trapped. Then they'll be shown that we did tell the truth and we didn't deceive people, and that it was them who was trying to deceive. Last comment from Captain Yemeni here. I tell you what, fellas, every time you guys try to mock and insult our religion, you make our imam stronger and to the highest degree. So thank you so much for that. Well, I don't know when we mocked or insulted. All we did is read your own sources to you. We read trusted Islamic scholars to you, and we asked you questions. We asked you to acknowledge that we were saying the correct thing, which you did, by the way, or to dispute us. So how exactly are we mocking your religion? If we're mocking it, then it's your own sources that mock Islam. And I'll also reiterate that I put the link to this live stream. You can come up here and you can talk with us live. You can show us how we're mocking and insulting your religion. You can tell us how we're twisting and deceiving. Come up, give us specific examples. Let's discuss them. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Islam is the truth. Maybe you have some evidence for that. But until you do, you're just illustrating the point of this live stream, that you give these empty, vapid, pointless comments in order to distract, in order to prevent there from being real dialogue that can actually discover the falsity of your religion.
Actually, on that point, I should mention that evidence in Islam is called ba'inna, okay? And then you have the ba'inna, the plural, but it's like, which means, the meaning changes slightly, means evident or clear. But ba'inna, Chloe, fantastic point. Islam does mock itself. But ba'inna is evidence. But notice that in Western thought, evidence is something tangible that you present in a logical, coherent fashion. You have something written, something physical you can prove, you present to a jury for consideration, right? In Islam, evidence does not meet that standard. Evidence is based on a verbal performance, okay? An embellished verbal performance that sounds beautiful. And because it sounds beautiful, it is therefore true. So the Quran is evidence. So notice when you ask something about Muslims, they will suddenly start spouting these long Quranic verses. They'll put a whole bunch of them in a comment, because this is ba'ina, this is evidence. So it's a verbal performance, right? That is evidence. And if you do this verbal performance, that is evidence. So they've reinterpreted the word evidence to mean something different. Okay, so you need to ask for written evidence, not for evidence, because then they will give you ba'ina. And this ba'ina is not evidence the way we understand it. So we are talking at cross purposes. We need to understand that they reinterpret words and they completely alter the meanings, just like typical leftist and communist ideology does. It reinterprets words.
Absolutely. He never returned as a horse put it well. It is difficult to defend the indefensible. Right. But if you don't have to discuss facts, it is possible. As long as you have empty rhetoric and you don't have any facts that can be nailed down, you can defend it from a Muslim perspective anyway. Seeking Truth said not agreeing with Islam is considered attacking, or even agreeing with Islam if it is embarrassing in the context in which you gave it, like happened in India recently, where all she did is say that Muhammad married a 6-year-old according to Islamic scriptures, and then there was an international riot about it because it was embarrassing to Islam, so it was attacking Islam in that context. Muslim preacher says the exact same thing. He's being a good Muslim, teaching the truth, etc., etc. Someone else says it. It's attacking Islam because you're an Islamophobe and you don't understand. DHC said, Safraz, you should read a book that really teaches about love, the Bible. And indeed, if you want to learn about love, read the Bible. If you don't want to learn about love, read the Quran, because there is not a single word about love in the Quran. Servant Girl said, Islam was a reaction to Jesus. A fundamental teaching of Islam is denying Jesus and who he is. So before the time of Christ, Islam would have been lacking its fundamental teachings. Kind of saying that Islam can't be the religion of Abraham, like we saw on the screen earlier, or that it can't be from before Christ. Of course it's not, and no one would say, no one who wasn't trying to repeat Muslim propaganda would say otherwise. But the other key point here is that Islam, it's a core doctrine of denying the essentials of Jesus. They'll agree with some things. They'll say, oh, he worked miracles. Oh, he's born of a virgin. Well, tell me, do you believe in the same Jesus? Okay. Did he die on a cross? No, that never happened. No. Did he rise from the dead? No. Of course not. He said he didn't have a straight up. Okay. Was he God incarnate? That is the worst possible thing you can say. Our religions are exactly opposite, but we respect Jesus. We love him. He's the same. Oh. We have the same prophet.
Captain Yemeni Falcon says here, they always use laugh out loud. Lol, do you speak Arabic? The answer is no, so you are debunked. Well, Does he speak Koine Greek? Does he speak Biblical Hebrew? So no, he's debunked. All Muslims are debunked if they don't speak Biblical Hebrew or Koine Greek. You know,
Oh,
correct? Does that
yes,
logic work?
yes. Captain, how about you let us know if all the 80 to 85% of Muslims who don't speak Arabic are also deceived, if they also have no ability to see whether Islam is true or not. Do let us know that, which includes Safraz, by the way. So here's another opportunity for you to call out Safraz for trying to teach Islam when he can't even understand it because he doesn't know Arabic.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you won't do that, though. Just a guess.
Correct. These are just standard arguments. Look, we need to catalog these arguments. We need to understand them for what they are. We need to turn them around. Understand? We need to stop being distracted by them. I wanted to bring this up to highlight these. These are standard arguments. As I said, it forms part of adab al-jadal, their form of disputation. Okay, their disputatio, and it is constantly. It's just sophistry mixed with rhetoric, right? It's not designed to find truth. It is designed to undermine. It's designed to attack the argument, designed to attack the person delivering the argument, to undermine them. It is not designed to provide an answer. It's designed to dance around. It's basically going Amber Heard in court, if you guys were watching that. So,
Yep, we got just a few more comments if you have some time. This one is just humorous here from Basel Jet. Hi guys, I'm catching up on my own jihad with COVID since last Tuesday. He says that he has a nice refreshing glass of camel urine to get over his COVID, but come to think of it, he had one last weekend, so maybe that was the cause of the COVID in the first place. Get better soon, my friend.
You know why he forgot to dip a fly's wing in it? You put the wrong wing in it.
Yeah, a fly must have landed in that camel urine, and only disease, the COVID wing got into his cup, but the COVID cure wing didn't get in there, unfortunately.
Yeah, he didn't. Also, you need to add some ajwa dates to it, okay? 3 preferably, maybe 7. That might help a lot. So yeah, I mean, look, as I said, I'm going to be doing some upcoming shows with Dr. J. Smith, and you're going to see repeatedly Muslims will deny the Sahih Hadith, but they will quote the Sahih Hadith whenever it suits them. But when we quote them, they are false, right? Now, and they will do entirely off-topic things, like Safraz's comment right here, completely off-topic, unrelated to the discussion at hand. We're talking about Islam. Let's focus on Islam, the Islamic hatred, right? This is because you cannot show me love for non-Muslims in Islam. So we need to find a way to deal with this, and we need to find a way to not be distracted by this. We need to bear this in mind and to change the polemic, because we've gone in circles trying to defend Christianity, when meanwhile we're playing their game. We must stop playing their game. You, Thaddeus, over to you.
Yep. So after Safraz brought up this comment, or probably actually this one, which is same basic gist, I again asked him to provide any Islamic sources of any nature that teaches to love Jews and Christians, to love non-Muslims. And then mysteriously, Safraz disappeared from the chat. He left the building. The first time we asked this, he didn't put anything in the chat for 5-10 minutes, which is quite unusual for him. And then he posted that hadith that we read earlier that had absolutely nothing to it. So he presumably, when we made that challenge... Oh, he's back. He's back. Those who spend...
Allah loves those who do good. Allah, this is referring to Muslims, Safraz. Show me in those words where your akida, your Sharia law says to love non-Muslims, to love Jews, to love Christians. It says here to love Muslims. This is who this talks about. So, answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, Allah loves those who chop off the heads of infidels. Great. And thanks for sharing, Safraz. Just like you did last weekend when you came up and said that was beautiful that Allah said to kill infidels. But that wasn't the question. And let me just go back to what I was saying. We asked this question. You disappeared for 10 minutes, vigorously searching Prophet Google, no doubt.
See his next comment. Show me from Christianity. No, we asked this first. You see, now this is... No, It says to love your enemies. It says to love your neighbor. This is a standard Christian view of the world, to love others. Okay? Whereas show me, because we have shown explicitly that your creed, your Sharia laws explicitly say to hate us, to hate Jews, to hate Christians, to hate all non-Muslims. Where does it say to love us? I want you to show me, because you know that you have to hate us and that you actually do.
So Saffraz, again, well, first of all, look what he did here. He says, show me from Christian teachings where it says to love Muslims. Of course, the Bible doesn't say anything about loving Muslims, because Muslims did not exist when the Bible was written. So of course it doesn't explicitly say to love Muslims, but it says to love your enemies. It says to respect the laws of Roman society, the pagan Roman society that was persecuting Christians, that was killing Christians, just like Muslims do. The Bible teaches us to love and respect those people. So yes, we are called to love and respect Muslims. And then he tries to go in circles. Another tactic. Christians are taught to love all, even our enemies. Oh, sorry, that they both have a green S. I clicked on the wrong one. So love and stop hating Prophet Muhammad. We already went over this, Saffraz. You already got your answer to this. To love someone is to tell the truth. No one can love Muhammad. No one can hate Muhammad. His body is gone. His soul is in hell. He is gone. You cannot have an emotional response to Muhammad. However, we do love Muslims by telling them the truth, by telling them that they are following a false prophet, by telling them that Muhammad is the most obviously false prophet in history and a disgusting human being on top of it. That is love. We already went through this once. He circled back to it again.
May I share my screen? I want to show something, if I may. So now, notice Captain Yemen is saying that we are pushing a Zionist agenda. No, we are showing authentic Islamic texts. So, yeah, we've shown your fiqh, which says to hate us. This is not Zionist. This is talking about Islam. If I may, I just shared my screen. That is, if we can, if you want to comment on this and then jump to my screen share.
So note what he is saying, that we know the truth, apparently. We know that Islam is the truth, I guess. But we've been bribed by Jews to give this false teaching about Islam. We've been bribed by Jews, apparently, to read Islamic texts teaching Islam to Muslims for the public. Amazing stuff here.
Yeah, Surprise is again now trying to, no surprise. I want you to answer the question. Where do your Sharia laws, where does your akida say to love Jews and Christians, to love non-Muslims? I've asked you. You are having difficulty answering this. Why can you not show me this? Because I've shown it only says to hate. Now, if I'm wrong, you can easily prove me wrong by showing me the facts. Easily prove me to be a liar by showing me, here Allah says to love the non-Muslim. Show me, in his words, to love the non-Muslim, to love the Jew, to love the Christian. Answer that. Stop dancing around. If you can't answer me, then you are lying. Okay? So, what I have here is, this is summarized from the book, what is commonly spread but not proven from the Seerah of Prophet Muhammad. In other words, famous but unauthentic stories from the Seerah of Prophet Muhammad, written by, as we're soon going to find out, a group of liars for Islam, or liars about Islam by not true Muslims. Okay, we're going to find out in just a second. Let's look at the things that are commonly spread but are not true. So, for instance, reports in his youth, his marriage to Khadija and period before prophethood, things that are lies, things that are wrong. Let's have a look. There's an interesting one here. Weak reports. Now remember, these are all weak hadith. Notice weak reports on the Battle of Uhud, weak reports on the Battle of Badr. The Jews' enmity with the Prophet, weak reports, weak reports. Now, of course, we are constantly told, but let's have a look at. So let me go here. Notice here. This is considered weak. This is considered false in Islam. The story of a Jewish lady who threw garbage at the Prophet is a false narration. The Prophet carried the luggage of a Jewish lady who wished to escape from Makkah after hearing of a man called Muhammad is an emotional but false narration. These are false stories. Muslims love to post these as examples of the beauty and the love of Islam, of how Prophet Muhammad had a golden heart. Okay, Muhammad did have the heart of a 4-year-old boy, which he kept in a jar in alcohol under his bed. Okay, and Muhammad did have his own hair in a box, sealed under his bed. He also kept his urine in a bowl under his bed at night, which his wife drank. Just so you know, fantastic guy. Awesome stories about him. But notice these stories. This is from a Muslim scholarship. Like this is from Muslim scholarship from a Muslim organization that states that these stories are all lies. Even the age of Khadija. Let's go back to Khadija. Even the age of Khadija, okay, is a false story. Okay, let's go have a look at that. Weak reports on his youth, his marriage to Khadija and period before prophethood. The report of the marriage of the Prophet to Khadija while her age was 40 is from the weakest of narrations. Okay, this hadith is matruk. It is rejected as false. It is said by Ibn Kathir, amongst others, she was 35 or 28 or 25. That's all the same age, exactly. So, yes. So, notice though, as I stated, right? So, Muslims can't even get their own story straight, right? So, there's loads of these. The Prophet carried the luggage of a Jewish lady. Okay, this is a false narration. These are all weak hadith. Now, how come it's true when Muslims say it, but when we quote it, oh, that's all weak? I just thought I'd stop there again. I'll stop sharing. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yep. Once again, Islam, the religion where all the sources are false, all the scholars are liars. You can't trust anything, but it's 100% true. And if you don't follow it, you will be punished by Allah and condemned to torture in the grave and hell. Let's pull up just a couple more comments.
Yep.
Alonzo's version of love is like Allah turning Muhammad sinning into a free ticket to sin, grotesque. And indeed, this is the closest thing you have in love is a ticket to a brothel in paradise. That is how Allah loves his faithful male servants. His faithful female
Mary just asked a
servants,
very good
man,
question.
whatever.
See Mary's last comment. That's actually a very, very astute statement. So Safraz was saying the Jews hate Jesus and we don't have a problem with that. And then she says, why would the Jews who hate Jesus? Good point.
Yeah, that is a very good point. So here's the two accusations we've had. Safraz tells us that, he attempts to distract by saying that the Jews hate Jesus. Why are you condemning the Jews? Why are you saying that's okay? Well, we never said that was okay. We weren't talking about whether Judaism was correct or not. And then we have his friend who disagrees with him on everything but won't actually contradict him on anything, Captain No Brain, saying that we've been paid off by the Jews. That's the only reason that we're here talking. We know Islam's true and we've just been paid off by evil Jews to spread lies. Greetings, Resurrecting Truth. I'm sure that no one has seen her channel yet. She just started. She is an ex-Muslim convert to Christianity who I hope to have on this channel soon. So welcome, and go over to Resurrecting Truth and check out her first videos. She will be posting her testimony shortly, and then I'll have her on to interview her to share her testimony here as well. Whoops. I didn't mean to bring that up. But the couple more comments.
Jade just posted in my latest interview with him.
Excellent. So another thing to check out after this. But actually, I'm going to steal all the audience for myself. I'll have an announcement on that in a second.
Yeah, I'm gonna. When I meet Jay on Tuesday, I'm going to punt you and Adam Seeker. I'm gonna say, hey, you guys need to go to these channels.
Absolutely. So Safra said, Mary says to Safraz, you dirty liar, you want to kill and subjugate everyone else and you call it beautiful. So Safraz is in here telling us how Islam teaches to love and respect non-Muslims. And then, but last week he was on this channel. That week he actually came up and spoke to us live. I posted the link a long time ago. He hasn't come up live for some reason, probably because he knows he can't actually defend himself today. Last week he was telling us how it was beautiful that the Sharia teaches to kill and subjugate non-Muslims. This week he's telling us that Islam teaches to love and respect other religions. Amazing stuff. Just some advice from Andrew here. to Captain Yemeni, I notice your hatred and rage. I suggest you remove it. And then he also pointed out, unrelated to that, but when we were having the discussion about the 30 different versions of the Quran, he pointed out that Muslims corrupted the Quran simply by writing it. And indeed, there was a dispute, at least according to the Hadith in early Islam, that some Muslims said, no, this is bid'ah, this is innovation. We should not write down the Quran because Muhammad never wrote it down. And then others said, whatever, we're writing it down anyway. We all have perfect memories and we never forget anything, but we need to write down the Quran. Of course, they didn't actually have perfect memories, and they actually did forget things, as the Hadith tell us, which is why they wrote it down, because they're forgetting parts of the Quran. They had lost portions of it. They needed to preserve what was left. Mary said that Safraz knows he's lying. He knows Islam is disgusting. And indeed, I think at some level, Safraz does know. He really genuinely seems to be struggling. He desperately wants to get to his God's brothel. He desperately wants his unlimited sex slaves in paradise that will be eternally virgin. But at the same time, he sees over and over again how he can't defend it. He sees over and over again how it's completely illogical. And he comes on live and he says, well, to be honest, I have no clue. Well, to be honest, I don't know. Well, to be honest, Islam is obviously false, but I can't say that out loud. Because if I did, there would be consequences. I would lose all my rewards. I would lose all of my respect. All of my community would hate me. I would lose my identity, etc., etc. But he's on a journey. He's on a journey. One thing's going to happen. Either he's going to break and he'll be an ex-Muslim, and then he'll be in this chat and he'll be probably the most vehement opponent of Islam because he's been abused by it so much, because it's hurt him so badly being forced to defend it over and over again, to lie to himself hundreds of times a day. Or he's going to break and he'll be like, I have grave doubts. That's a grave sin in Islam. My only chance of getting into paradise is if I am a martyr. And he'll go and commit a terrorist act. That's right. What's going to happen. One of those two things is going to happen.
So yeah, guys, I'm pretty bushed actually. Today's been and it's about Lloyd is not streaming. Anyway, guys, it's 1 billion degrees here in the shade in Poland. But look, so guys, what did you gain from this? What did you learn from this in terms of, this is my first attempt at trying to talk about this sophistry, this deception, right, in a practical sense, to provide examples. This is probably not my best attempt, but it is my first attempt. And what did you gain from this? Just drop something in the chat, and then also in the comments, give examples. Let's try to collate this, and how do we deal with this? How do we counteract this, right? How do we develop standard arguments that refute these false arguments that they're putting together, these sophist arguments? That's my interest here. And if I can get some of your feedback before we go, that'd be very helpful for me.
Yep, if you could just talk for like 2 more minutes so that I can set up a premiere of a new video that I'm going to try. YouTube has a new feature called Live Redirect that it will send you to another video. Looks like I have to set it for, it only lets me set it by 15 minutes. I'll set it at 3:30. So 15 minutes from now. While I'm setting that up, if you could just talk for a minute.
Okay, now Farish, good to see you. Thank you. Oh, by the way, guys, on Wednesday, I will be doing a new series discussing Sharia law. The same series I'm doing with Jay, but with fewer distractions. Believe me, talking with Jay is an experience. So myself and Nuria of Holy Humanist, on her channel, I will be doing a second series with her over the next few weeks, discussing Islamic law. She's a fantastic interviewer as well. She asks great questions. So this should be very interesting. She's an ex-Muslim. She's an atheist, yes. So we have our disagreements there. But, we've had a really good chemistry in terms of our discussion on Islam, and she's really, really good to talk with. So that will be there. And so guys, also we get this information out to ex-Muslims. We get this out to people who really have an impact on Islam, who really have an impact within the communities. And this is very important that we reach out to this community. She's open to this. She watches our channel. She actually watches my content, Thaddeus's content, Adam Seeker's content. So she does actually watch, and she's, So Wednesday, I'll be doing a new series with her on Sharia law. I'll be going a deep dive step by step through my presentation. Also, my series, I've done 14 episodes with Al Fadi. That will be airing in July. So expect those to start airing in July. I'm filming again on Tuesday with Jay. And Jay, though, is instead of going through my presentation, he's really sort of like, we're going suddenly veering off because I say something, and he wants to now explore into this direction, explore into that direction. So I'm not exactly following the plan I set, but we're kind of also going where Jay would like to go with opening up some of these discussions. He's learning a great deal he did not know before about this. And what else? Okay, okay.
Yep.
So also go to as I showed my Google, it's in the description box, right? Go to my Google archive. You can look for things like unauthentic. That was that document I showed earlier, right? Which is called what is commonly spread but not proven about Prophet Muhammad, famous but false stories from the Sirah, the Gospels of, the biographies of Muhammad. So you can use these. When Muslims quote these things, you can show them, but this is false. Your own scholars tell you the age of Khadija, she couldn't be 40 years old and have 6 children when she's in the desert in the 6th, 7th century. No way. She was 25. That's the only way she could have 6 kids. So clearly the age is wrong, or something is wrong. But understand, they can't get their own story straight. I've got 1,400 resources. In fact, there's a fantastic, if you look at Hanafi fiqh, it's the largest school of jurisprudence in Islam. I've got a fantastic document where scholars go through the scholars of Islam who claim that Hanafi was a fraud. And they provide detailed evidence. These Islamic scholars, these top Islamic scholars, provide detailed evidence to prove that Imam Hanafi, who founded the Hanafi school of fiqh, was a complete fraud. The guy was a heretic. The guy was wrong about so many things, and it's hysterical. I need to do a show on that one day. That might be interesting, because then you'll see these scholars are saying, "Hold on, but this is a lie. That's wrong. This is false." So they can't even get their own story straight. Even the story of the crucifixion, with Jesus' crucifixion, when you read the Islamic scholars, my gosh, there's at least 7 stories. 4,000 Jews surrounded the house where Jesus was, okay? Or the story of St. Paul, who was King Saul. Paul was king of the Jews, okay? Paul was living in the late 200s, okay? In the late 3rd century. They can't get their facts straight. These guys are idiots, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of information. We can use this against Islam. I mean, they need to answer this foolishness.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. I tried to set it up. It doesn't seem to allow me to add it. Maybe I had to do that before we started. But I did put the link to the video at a premiere in 10 minutes. So head over there after we wrap up. I just wanted to put a couple comments. You don't have to comment on these. These are just for you, Lloyd. Kaskarabas earlier asked for you to explain the difference between Shia and Sunni split when you have time. So that's a video suggestion for you from the historical standpoint, not from the BS story. We all know the BS story, but I'd like you to look into that. So that's an idea for you there.
Yeah, I see there's something that's deviant. I mean, I haven't found anything offhand that's deviant. It seems that the Sunnis wanted anyone to carry on the line of authority, but in fact, that they wanted, as scholars, to take over Islam. Look, the Imams of Islam are the Pharisees of Islam. Understand, they are the Pharisees of it. Just like the Pharisees were criticized heavily for taking over and altering biblical Judaism into Phariseeism, the Imams have altered Islam. I mean, not to say that Islam was good and fantastic before, it was bogus trash, but the Imams have taken over and altered it. And I've been hoping to get into that with Jay, but I haven't gotten that far. In fact, I doubt I'll ever get that far because we're talking about everything else that comes up. So, but that is something I've wanted to discuss with Jay, and hopefully I will be able to get him to go there.
James 119 said that he watched your presentation with Jay on this. I'm not sure exactly when it was made, but in general, that whole series is excellent. It's an endorsement of that series. As Lloyd said, it's been a bit of a struggle because Jay likes to jump around a bit. You know, his mind, he thinks of something which is relevant, but he wants to immediately jump over there, and he has a very strong personality, which Lloyd does as well. You know, we love that about both of them, but the two of them together, there's a little bit of friction going on. But both parties have said that the series seems to be very beneficial, and they're getting a lot out of it, and the audience feedback has been extremely positive. So definitely check out Lloyd's series over there on Jay
Yeah,
Smith's
so
channel.
apparently we're going to be doing a lot of episodes. Al-Fadi says he wants to do a lot of episodes because there's so much to discuss. I hope to do some live streams with Al-Fadi as well. Al-Fadi has been great the last few recordings. And of course with Thaddeus. I hope to get Thaddeus on those channels as well. We need to get some of Thaddeus's content. In fact, I would love to get you, Adam, and myself onto one of these shows to do a talk. Because I mean, man, your perspective and Adam's perspective are Adam is wow, that guy knows stuff. My gosh. He's impressive. Adam is incredibly impressive.
Absolutely. I endorse that statement 100%. And then just a last comment for you. Vilnius would like to know if you ever sleep or if you're debunking Islam 24/7.
Yeah, man. I have this very weird sleep cycle. I wake up at like 1 a.m. every night and I'm awake for like 2 hours and I go back to bed afterwards. So yeah, it's just been like that for many years. I have this bifurcated sleep cycle most of the time.
So I wasn't able to set up the instant premiere. I'd never tried to use that.
Oh,
Or I'm
Thunderous
sorry,
one. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Thunderous has had some things to deal with. We were meant to do shows with him. He's been occupied with something. I believe he's also had a health issue. But Thunderous is his perspective, his questions, his insight, fantastic. Yeah, he brings a whole new perspective on things. Yeah, sometimes we all
Yeah.
just get busy as we're people. We have lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, this part of the reason why this show is a little disjointed is we were originally going to have a show of Thunderous today, and he had some issues with friends that he needed to help resolve, so that we understandably postponed that. But we decided to go ahead and take advantage of the time slot since Lloyd and I had blocked it off and present some material looking at how Islam tries to deceive us. But we'll have Thunderous on probably next weekend. We'll be looking for, are we comparing how Dawah is done compared to how evangelism is done? How the two attempts to convert people to the religion or to outreach to people, however you want to put that, have very different tactics and very different aims on what they want to achieve.
Yeah. So Fraz is back again, off topic. Enjoy your temporary enjoyment. Jesus is coming to kill the pig and break the cross. Because Jesus was a Muslim, didn't you know?
Indeed.
Did
Safraz,
Jesus kiss a stone? Did Jesus kiss a stone anywhere?
Safraz, this is my closing comment for you. There's nothing in Islam about love. There is nothing about loving non-Muslims. You said that Muslims should love Christians and Jews, that they should respect other religions. You are better than your religion. You're better than your prophet. Give it up. Either find a source that backs your beliefs or abandon the religion that contradicts your beliefs. Thank you all for joining, everyone. I wasn't able to set up the live redirect. Probably I had to set it up before the stream started or something. I'll figure that out for next time. But I pinned the comment for those who missed the start of this. I have a new channel that is called the David Wood Archives that is releasing his videos one at a time. I'm doing it that way to maximize the impact so that people will, if I just pushed them all at once, no one would watch any of them. YouTube would never pick them up. By releasing them one at a time, the idea is that people will actually watch it, YouTube algorithm will pick it up, and eventually it'll start pushing it to people who have never seen the videos before. So head over there, join me for the premiere in about 7 minutes, and have a great rest of your day. God bless. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. Take care.